Now we're considering the Moon Dasha, once more from Brihat Parashara Horus Shastra. So Parashara we see in verses 16 through 22 of chapter 49. O Brahman, after briefly describing the results of the Dasha of the Sun, now I explain the results of the Moon Dasha, in accordance to Vimshottari Dasha system. And here's where we begin the assessment. So pause the video, get out your pen and paper, and you can start writing this down. If the moon is in the sign of exaltation, own sign, or an angle or trine, and conjoined with benefics, the moon is full, powerful, and accompanied by the Lord of the 10th, the 9th, or the 4th house, during the Dasha of the moon, beginning until end, happiness, enjoyment, and auspiciousness will be the result. Gain in wealth and agriculture come forth. Many auspicious ceremonies at home, comforts of conveyances, meeting with the king, success at work, blessings of the goddess Lakshmi, enhancement of fortune through royalty and friends, and state of extreme enjoyment are achieved. Acquisition of conveyance, white apparels, happiness of having a son, addition of cows in the house, so cows, what's that? Property, wealth, are other benefits the native will reap during this particular period. So we have to remember the requirements for all those good things. The moon in its sign of exaltation, its own sign in an angle or trine, conjoined with benefics or its friends, particularly Sun and Mercury, or I should say with the Sun aspected by the Sun, because when the Sun is with the moon, it's typically a new moon, and that's also a Lajatati Avashta of agitation. But the moon being full, powerful, accompanied by the lords of the 10th, the 9th, or the 4th, during the Dasha of the moon, we see happiness and enjoyment. So whenever you're assessing the moon Dasha, you want to think about, are these things in effect? And the more of them that are in effect, the more likely the positive indications or what the moon represents by its very nature will be brought forth into your life during the moon Dasha. Now it goes on to say, if the moon is posited in the 11th house and is also in our own sign or in the sign of exaltation, gain of wealth in its assorted forms, accretion in fortune, happiness, and education, and also royal commendation are likely to be bestowed during this period. And as we know, in general, as we look at the dashas, it's not just simply the dasha itself. We have to see, are there transits supporting it? Is the moon well supported in the vargas that represent these things? So for example, when we talk about wealth, we need to look at the varga, the chaturtamsha, the hora. If the moon's doing well there, that particularly supports this experience during the moon dasha of wealth and gains. If there's royal commendation, well, the 10th varga, the dasamsha, can be very important. So whenever we're assessing a particular dasha, we not only need to look at the planet generally in regards to its strengths, we need to see, is it placed in such a way to actually give those things? And once more, this is something we went over in detail in the Vimshottari Dasha course, which is available as an MP3 download at AshevilleVedicAstrology.com. So use this as a foundation for your studies in relationship to the moon dasha. Now Parashara, as with the sun and with every planet, speaks to the difficulties during the moon dasha. If the moon be in the 3rd house, there will be happiness off and on. If the moon is associated with malefics, there will be idiocy, mental tension, trouble from employees, trouble from the mother, and loss of wealth. If the waning moon be in the 6th, the 8th, or the 12th, or be associated with malefics, There will be difficult relations with the government or authorities, loss of wealth, distress to mother, and similar evil effects. If a strong moon be placed in the 6th, the 8th, or the 12th, there will be troubles and good times off and on. So again, we see these particular combinations that allow us to understand when might we see good, when might we see bad. And when the moon says, when the moon dasha is said to create idiocy and mental tension, well, why is that? Well, the moon represents the reflection of our soul, and in a sense, our mind. So when the moon has difficulties, we have mental tension, which is why the moon is often associated with particular psychological disturbances. So those things can come out during difficult placements of the moon. So keep all of this in mind as you consider the moon dasha, primarily in relationship to all that which the moon represents. And this is hinted at, illustrated within each of these descriptions because it's focusing on the things that the moon represents, such as idiocy and mental tension. Well, we know the mind deals with the projection of the personality, and the moon deals with the projection of the personality and the mind. The moon deals with our capacity to accept wealth, our receptivity to wealth and good fortune. The moon deals with the mother. It's a representation of the mother. So this is how you can begin to assess the moon Mahadasha period, remembering again that there will be, as we discussed in the previous videos, sometimes that are good, sometimes that are not so good, depending on the transits during the dasha, depending on the subcycles during the moon dasha. But this will give you a general understanding, a general indication. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll look at Mars next.